The mockery begins. Empire emerges. The vast expanse of space was quiet, yet it was filled with the hum of power and untold civilizations. Among them, one race stood out, an advanced, powerful empire that ruled over countless worlds. They were the Zorathians, a species with technology so advanced that even the most brilliant minds across the galaxy bowed to their supremacy. Their cities were like floating fortresses, their weapons capable of wiping out entire planets with a single thought. They had conquered many civilizations, each one weaker than the last, until they set their eyes on Earth. To the Zorathians, Earth was nothing more than a speck of dust in the great cosmic sea. They saw humanity as nothing more than a collection of apes, primitive beings who had yet to discover the true power of the universe. They laughed at the idea that such an insignificant species could ever challenge them. Humans had no advanced technology, no military force to stand up to their might. They were simply too weak, too slow, and far too unorganized to pose any real threat. The Zorathians watched Earth from a distance with disdain. They had already visited the planet once, hundreds of years ago, when humanity had barely discovered fire. The aliens saw no reason to interact with them directly. Instead, they preferred to observe from afar, using their vast intelligence to monitor Earth's progress without lifting a finger. But as the years passed, something began to stir in the hearts of the humans. The Zorathians noticed the rise of new technologies. The humans were building cities, creating machines that could fly through the skies, and even reaching into the stars. It was not enough to impress the Zorathians. They still saw humanity as weak, and they mocked them for their feeble attempts at advancing. In the Zorathian capital, the High Council sat in their grand hall, observing Earth's movements through advanced telescopes and sensors. They still believe they are worthy of our attention, a Zorathian elder scoffed, tapping his long fingers on the council table. His skin shimmered like silver under the dim light of the room, his eyes glowing with a cold, calculating intelligence. Another elder laughed. It's pathetic. They are nothing more than a collection of primitive creatures. They call themselves humans, but they are little more than apes with tools. What will they do when they reach the stars? Crash and burn, like all the others. The room filled with laughter, and the council nodded in agreement. The humans had no chance against them. To the Zorathians, the idea of humanity ever challenging their empire was laughable. But not everyone in the empire shared the same view. In the far reaches of their military command, one young officer named Kale stood apart from the rest. He had been studying Earth for years and had begun to see something different. While the Zorathians mocked humanity's progress, Kale saw potential. He saw resilience, the very thing that made humans dangerous. Are we sure they are as weak as we think? Kale asked, his voice cutting through the laughter of his peers. Their history shows no signs of submission. They fight for survival, no matter the odds. They may not have the technology we do, but they are persistent. Maybe it is time we take them seriously. The other Zorathians dismissed Cal's concerns with a wave of the hand. You're being foolish, the elder said, his tone dismissive. Humans are nothing compared to us. You cannot compare the power of our empire to their primitive tools. Their technology is but a shadow of ours. But Cal's mind kept turning. He studied human history, wars, revolutions, and their never-ending struggle for survival. Each time they were pushed to the edge of extinction, they fought back. Every setback, every defeat, only made them stronger. It was this resilience that Cal couldn't ignore. As the council continued to mock humanity, Cal quietly made a decision. He would not stand by and watch his people underestimate an entire species. He would learn everything he could about humanity, and perhaps, one day, that knowledge would save his empire. But for now, the Zorathians turned their focus elsewhere, laughing at the idea that humans could ever pose a threat. The humans had yet to discover the power of the stars. They had no idea what lay beyond their little planet. They were still too small, too weak. Yet, deep in the shadows of their own empire, Kale began to plan. He knew that one day the humans would prove everyone wrong. And when that day came, he wanted to be ready. The rest of the Zorathian Empire, however, continued to mock. They watched as humanity grew and advanced, but they never took the time to truly understand them. As the humans looked toward the stars, the Zorathians simply smiled. It was only a matter of time before they wiped them out, just as they had done with so many other weak civilizations. But, as the Zorathians would soon learn, humanity was about to do something that no one expected, something that would change the course of history forever. Humanity's struggle for survival. The Zorathian Empire may have laughed at humanity, but down on Earth, things were very different. The people of Earth had no idea of the galactic forces watching them, or the alien empire that had deemed them unworthy of respect. They were too busy fighting for their survival. The world was changing rapidly. Technological advancements were being made at an astonishing rate. While the humans were still far from matching the Zorathians' powerful weapons, they were making progress. They had unlocked the secrets of flight, built machines that could travel into space, and had even begun to establish colonies on the moon. Their curiosity was boundless, and their desire to reach beyond their planet grew every day. Yet, despite their progress, humanity faced serious challenges. Wars continued to rage across the Earth. Ruthless power struggles, conflicts over resources, and political turmoil kept the world on edge. Nations fought one another for control of the planet's dwindling resources, and poverty was rampant. Disease and famine were constant threats. For many, it seemed like humanity was teetering on the brink of collapse. But there was one thing that kept them going: hope. Humans, despite all their flaws, had a unique resilience. They never gave up. Even when the world seemed hopeless, they fought on. They had a fierce determination to survive, to push through adversity. It was this trait that the Zorathians underestimated. The Zorathians viewed humanity's struggles as signs of weakness, but in reality, these struggles had strengthened the human spirit. In secret, hidden from the eyes of the rest of the galaxy, humanity's brightest minds were working together. They realized that to survive, they would need to do more than just send a few rockets into space. They needed to develop something far greater, something that would give them the power to stand up to the most powerful forces in the universe. They needed a weapon, something that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. In a secluded research facility, a team of brilliant scientists and engineers had discovered something astonishing. They had found a way to harness the energy of a star. They were developing a device that could channel that energy into a weapon capable of destroying entire fleets, or even a sun itself. It was humanity's last, best hope. However, the development of this weapon was not without its risks. Many believed that it was too dangerous to attempt. The sheer power that they were attempting to control was unimaginable. The weapon could either save humanity or destroy them all. But the stakes were high. If humanity failed to create this weapon, they would be vulnerable to any alien attack, including the mighty Zorathian Empire. And they knew that if the Zorathians discovered their plans, they would not hesitate to strike first. Despite the risks, the project moved forward. In underground bunkers, in secret labs, the weapon slowly began to take shape. Every day, humanity's greatest minds worked tirelessly, pouring all their knowledge and ingenuity into the device. It was a race against time. As the humans worked, the rest of the world remained unaware of the looming threat from space. They continued to fight their own battles, struggling to survive in a world that seemed on the verge of falling apart. And yet, in the background, the world's most brilliant minds were focused on one goal: survival. They knew that if the Zorathians ever discovered their weapon, they would come with their full force to wipe humanity from the face of the earth. But the humans were prepared to face any challenge, even a force far greater than anything they had ever known. They had always been fighters. They had always been survivors. And in this moment, they were determined to prove that they were far more than the apes the Zorathians thought they were. Suspense. While the humans worked, the Zorathians continued to mock them from afar. Their empire seemed unstoppable, and they showed no signs of recognizing the threat humanity posed. The final piece of the weapon was still being developed, but time was running out. Could humanity complete their weapon in time? Or would the Zorathians crush them before they could finish? The discovery of ancient knowledge. As the humans toiled away in their secret laboratories, pouring their hearts and minds into the weapon that could save their species, something extraordinary happened. Amid all the chaos and struggle, an ancient discovery was made that would change everything. It started with a small team of archaeologists who were exploring a remote part of Earth, deep in the jungles of South America. They stumbled upon an old ruin, buried beneath layers of dirt and forgotten by time. The structure was massive, its stone walls covered in strange symbols and designs that no one had ever seen before. The team was puzzled but intrigued. What could this ancient civilization have known? What knowledge had they left behind? The ruins had been hidden for centuries, long before humanity ever dreamed of space travel or powerful weapons. But as the archaeologists dug deeper, they uncovered a hidden chamber, one that contained something even more incredible than they could have ever imagined. In the chamber, on a stone pedestal, lay a set of strange, ancient tablets. These tablets were covered in cryptic markings, clearly not made by any known civilization on Earth. The team, amazed by the find, quickly sent the tablets to the world's leading experts in language and ancient history. It was only after months of painstaking research that the true significance of the tablets became clear. They were not just an ancient record of forgotten civilizations. They contained blueprints, detailed instructions on how to harness the energy of a star. A weapon, much like the one the humans had been trying to develop, was described in the tablets, a weapon capable of destroying suns. The discovery sent shockwaves through the scientific community. How could an ancient civilization on Earth have known such a thing? How could they have understood the mechanics of a star, let alone have devised a way to weaponize its power? The implications were staggering. It seemed impossible, but the evidence was undeniable. Humans had stumbled upon the key to their survival, a weapon that could change the course of their future, and possibly the fate of the entire galaxy. The blueprints were unlike anything humanity had ever seen. They weren't just theoretical ideas. They were real designs, showing the exact specifications for building a device that could manipulate stellar energy. The construction was complex and incredibly difficult, but it was doable if the humans could figure it out. As word of the discovery spread, a quiet sense of hope began to rise among the people. The weapon they were constructing was based on human knowledge, but now they had something more. The ancient knowledge gave them a starting point, an advantage they didn't have before. They weren't just inventing from scratch anymore. They were standing on the shoulders of giants, looking back through time to a civilization that had once held secrets lost to the ages. Meanwhile, the Zorathians continued to mock humanity, unaware of the secret that had just been uncovered. They continued to observe the planet from their distant vantage point, content to wait for the moment when they would sweep down and eliminate the ape-like humans. Their hubris blinded them to the dangers that were quietly growing on Earth. Suspense. With this new information, humanity had gained a major advantage. But the questions remained. How much time did they have to unlock the full power of the weapon? What if the Zorathians discovered what was happening on Earth? What if they arrived before the weapon was completed? Humanity's hope now rested on the ability to make the weapon a reality before it was too late. The discovery of this ancient knowledge had changed everything. It was no longer a question of simply surviving. It was about fighting back. Humanity wasn't just going to cower in fear. They were going to fight for their place in the universe. But as they prepared to use this new power, they couldn't shake the thought. Would the Zorathians still underestimate them? Or had the time come for humanity to show the universe its true strength? The final countdown. Time was running out. Humanity's secret weapon, built from the ancient blueprints and the tireless work of the world's greatest minds, was nearing completion. Yet, the threat from the Zorathian Empire still loomed over them like a dark cloud. The aliens had no idea what humanity was preparing, but their time to strike was drawing near. The Zorathians, oblivious to the weapon being constructed on Earth, had begun their final preparations for an assault. They had grown tired of watching the humans from afar and decided that the time had come to end the ape-like species. The Zorathian High Council, having grown more and more confident in their own superiority, issued the order for a full-scale invasion of Earth. Their fleets were already en route, ready to wipe humanity from existence with overwhelming force. As the alien ships began their journey toward Earth, humanity's own forces scrambled to finish the weapon. The device was almost complete, but it still required final calibrations. The countdown had begun. Would they be able to finish in time to stop the impending alien invasion? On Earth, military leaders and scientists worked together, pushing themselves to the limits to get the weapon operational. The pressure was immense. If they failed, the Zorathians would arrive, and the fate of humanity would be sealed. The world's nations had come together like never before, setting aside their differences to face this common enemy. The weapon was humanity's last hope, and they had no choice but to succeed. In underground bunkers, engineers worked around the clock, running simulations and making adjustments to the massive weapon that could alter the course of history. The weapon, once a mere concept from the ancient blueprints, was now a reality. It was capable of harnessing the power of a star and directing that energy in a way no one had ever dreamed possible. But the final steps were the most dangerous. One wrong calculation, one misstep, could mean disaster. Suspense. As the weapon neared its completion, a wave of fear swept over the engineers. They knew how powerful it was, but they also knew how fragile it could be. It was more than just a weapon. It was humanity's survival. Every moment that passed brought them closer to the moment of truth. The Zorathians' fleet was getting closer. The final countdown for the weapon was running in parallel. Meanwhile, on the Zorathian flagship, the fleet commander, a cold and ruthless warrior named Talrax, prepared for the final assault. He had heard whispers of the humans' attempts to create a weapon, but he dismissed it as nothing more than an idle fantasy. They can never match our power, he thought. They will fall like all the others before them. The Zorathians believed their victory was inevitable. Their fleet was enormous, and their weapons were unmatched. The humans had no chance. Talrax's thoughts were filled with visions of Earth's destruction. He relished the thought of watching the pathetic humans beg for mercy, only to be crushed under the weight of the Zorathian Empire. There would be no escape for them. As Talrax's fleet neared the outer rim of the solar system, a tense silence hung over Earth. The weapon, still in its final stages, pulsed with energy, waiting for the signal to fire. Humanity held its breath, hoping that it would work, praying that the device would unleash the power they so desperately needed. Suspense. With every passing second, the tension grew. The humans knew they were outgunned, outnumbered, and running out of time. They could hear the Zorathian fleet approaching, their ships moving silently through the void of space. Soon, they would be upon Earth, and the battle would begin. Could humanity truly harness the power of the sun? Could they destroy the Zorathians before they wiped out all of humanity? The countdown for the weapon continued to tick down. As the final preparations were made, one final message was broadcast across the globe. The voice of a human leader rang out. We have fought for this moment. We have fought for our survival. Now we fight for our future. The Zorathians will not have our world. We will show them what it means to underestimate humanity. The countdown reached its final moments. The moment of truth. The air was thick with anticipation as the final moments approached. On Earth, every soul held their breath. The weapon, humanity's greatest hope, was ready, but could it work? The countdown echoed in the control rooms, ticking down with every second, each one feeling like a lifetime. The Zorathian fleet, led by Commander Talrax, was now within striking distance. Their enormous ships moved silently, their weapons charged and ready to annihilate Earth in an instant. The humans, still unaware of the Zorathians' true power, had no choice but to prepare for a final desperate stand. They were ready to deploy the weapon that could change everything, but could it succeed where so many hopes had failed before? As the Zorathians advanced, Commander Talrax's voice rang out across the fleet, cold and commanding. "Prepare to annihilate Earth. Their resistance is futile. All systems ready." He smiled, a cruel expression on his face, convinced that humanity's efforts were nothing more than the final whimper of a doomed species. The Zorathian Empire had never known defeat, and this planet, these apes, would be no different. It would fall, just as every other conquered world had. But on Earth, a flicker of hope remained. The weapon, still in its final stages of calibration, was about to be activated. Inside the control room, the chief engineer, a woman named Ilara, stood before the massive console, her hands trembling slightly as she made the final adjustments. She was the one who had led the team to bring the blueprints to life, and now the weight of humanity's future rested on her shoulders. Her fingers hovered over the button that would trigger the weapon. Behind her, a massive screen showed the incoming Zorathian fleet, growing larger by the minute. The battle was coming, and the weapon had to be ready. The scientists and military leaders watching could feel their hearts racing. Every calculation had been made, every adjustment accounted for. Now it was time to test whether their faith in this creation could save them or doom them. Suspense. Ilara's breath caught in her throat as she pressed the final key. The weapon hummed to life, its energy coursing through the vast channels of the facility, lighting up the dark room with a blinding flash of power. The massive device, built to channel the energy of a sun, was now fully operational. Could it truly live up to the promise of the ancient blueprints? Could it destroy a fleet as formidable as the Zorathian Armada? On the Zorathian flagship, Commander Talrax watched his sensors closely. His ships were almost in range, and the destruction of Earth seemed inevitable. But just as he was about to give the final order to attack, something strange happened. A massive pulse of energy shot from Earth, traveling faster than anything he had ever seen. A deep, resonating hum filled the space as the weapon fired. Suspense. The energy beam, concentrated to an unimaginable level, shot out from Earth, heading directly toward the Zorathian fleet. Talrax's eyes widened in disbelief. This wasn't supposed to happen. He tried to issue an order to evade the blast, but it was too late. The energy beam struck the first Zorathian warship with the force of 1,000 suns. The ship was obliterated in an instant, its massive structure torn apart as the weapon's power consumed it. Talrax's flagship was next. The beam hit the Zorathian flagship head-on, disintegrating it in a brilliant explosion of light. The power of the weapon was beyond anything the Zorathians had ever encountered. It wasn't just a weapon. It was a force of nature. Suspense. Talrax, who had once mocked humanity, could now only stare in disbelief as his fleet was torn apart by the humans' creation. The Zorathians had no defense against such raw power. Their ships were destroyed one by one, crumbling like fragile toys in the face of humanity's newfound strength. As the beam continued to rip through the alien fleet, the remaining Zorathian ships tried to retreat, but the weapon's reach was far greater than anything they had imagined. The destruction was total. The Zorathian Empire, the so-called Masters of the Galaxy, were now in retreat. Their once unstoppable force had been vanquished by a species they had dismissed as nothing more than apes. Back on Earth, humanity erupted into cheers as the last of the Zorathian ships disintegrated into space. The weapon had worked. Against all odds, humanity had not only survived, they had triumphed. The Zorathians, who had once mocked them, were now scattered, their empire broken. Ilara, standing before the console, let out a sigh of relief. Her hands, still shaking, slowly fell to her sides as she turned to the others. "We did it," she whispered. "We're still here." The room exploded in celebration. Humanity had fought back, and they had won. They had shown the universe that they were not weak, that they were not to be underestimated. The apes had become the most powerful force in the galaxy, and no one would ever mock them again. But as the celebrations continued, one lingering thought remained in the back of everyone's minds. What if the Zorathians were just the beginning? Humanity strikes back. The Zorathian fleet was no more. In the space of mere moments, their once mighty empire had crumbled under the power of humanity's weapon. The surviving Zorathians, those few who had managed to escape, fled back into the depths of space, their hearts filled with terror. They had never imagined such a turn of events. How could an ape species like humanity possess such unimaginable power? But as the remnants of the Zorathian fleet scattered, humanity stood victorious on Earth. The skies above were clear, the threat that had hung over them for so long now nothing more than a memory. The cheers that echoed across every city on Earth could be heard for miles. Humanity had done what no one had thought possible. The weak, the primitive, the mocked. They had defeated the most powerful empire in the galaxy. The world rejoiced, but the victory was not without its costs. The battle had been brutal, and the damage done to Earth's cities was immense. The war had taken its toll, leaving scars both on the planet and on the souls of those who had fought. Yet, despite the destruction, the people of Earth had emerged stronger than ever before. In the aftermath of the victory, humanity began to rebuild, coming together to heal the wounds of the war and to chart a new course for the future. The weapon, once a symbol of their desperate survival, now became a beacon of their strength. The world's greatest minds worked together, using the knowledge gleaned from the weapon to create new technologies that would push humanity even further. No longer would they cower in fear of other civilizations. They were no longer the apes of the galaxy. They were the true masters of their own fate. Suspense. As humanity began to recover, a disturbing thought began to take root. The Zorathians had been just one of many empires in the galaxy. If they had been so easily defeated, were there others who might take their place? The victory over the Zorathians was monumental, but the galaxy was vast, and its dangers were far from over. The leaders of Earth, now united under one banner, began to turn their attention to the stars. They knew that the peace they had fought so hard for could be fleeting. The Zorathians were not the only race in the galaxy with advanced technology. There were others, alien empires, some even older and more powerful than the Zorathians. Would they see humanity as a threat to their dominance? Would they come for Earth as the Zorathians had? On a newly formed council, representatives from every nation gathered in secret. They were no longer just leaders of Earth. They were the keepers of humanity's future. The talks were tense as they discussed the next steps. Should humanity prepare for further conflict? Should they try to establish alliances with other alien races, hoping to avoid more war? Or should they stand their ground and show the universe that Earth was no longer a planet to be ignored? But one thing was clear. Humanity was no longer the weak, helpless species it once was. The Zorathians had learned that lesson the hard way, and now the galaxy would learn it as well. Suspense. As the leaders of Earth debated their next move, a new, unknown force appeared on the outskirts of the solar system. A ship, unlike anything humanity had ever seen, appeared in the distance. It was massive, its sleek surface gleaming with an eerie light. No one knew who it was or what they wanted, but the message was clear. The galaxy was watching, and humanity had just made its first real mark in the stars. The unknown ship moved closer, its intentions unclear. The humans, still recovering from their battle with the Zorathians, had no choice but to prepare. What if this was another alien empire, ready to test their strength? Or worse, what if they were facing something even more dangerous than the Zorathians? Humanity's victory had been hard-earned, but it was only the beginning. The universe was vast, and Earth had just entered the galactic stage. Whether they would rise to become the dominant force in the galaxy or fall to a greater power was yet to be seen. The aftermath and victory. Humanity's victory over the Zorathians had sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. The once mighty empire, with its overwhelming technology and advanced fleets, had been obliterated in a single powerful strike from Earth. The people of Earth had done the impossible. They had not only survived but had triumphed, proving to the universe that humanity was far more than what the Zorathians had believed. But the war had left deep scars. Earth had been ravaged by battles, cities were in ruins, and many lives had been lost. The cost of victory weighed heavily on the people. The world was united in its efforts to rebuild, but the memories of the destruction remained fresh in the minds of those who had lived through it. The global community had forged a new era of cooperation, setting aside old rivalries to focus on a single unified purpose: survival and progress. As humanity worked together to restore their planet, the focus shifted from the past to the future. The weapon that had been humanity's last resort was now a symbol of their strength. No longer would they cower in fear of galactic invaders. No longer would they be dismissed as apes by the other species of the universe. They had proven that they could stand on equal footing with the most powerful civilizations in existence. But as Earth slowly healed, the question of what came next began to emerge. The galaxy was vast, and the victory over the Zorathians, though monumental, had not gone unnoticed. The mysterious ship that had appeared in the distance was now hovering near Earth's orbit, its dark, sleek surface glistening in the light of the sun. Humanity had sent signals to it, trying to establish contact, but no response had come. The unknown vessel remained silent, watching, waiting. Suspense. The leaders of Earth were now confronted with a new reality. They had defeated the Zorathians, but the galaxy was full of unknowns. What if this new ship was an even greater threat? What if it was another empire, older and more powerful than anything humanity had ever faced? Or perhaps it was a friend, an ally, offering humanity a chance to join the greater galactic community. The Council of Earth's leaders met once again, their faces grim as they discussed their next move. They knew that they could no longer afford to remain isolated. The Zorathian threat had taught them that they could be vulnerable at any time, and the arrival of the unknown vessel only reinforced that lesson. They had to be ready, whatever the cost. Would they extend a hand of peace to this new force, hoping for cooperation? Or would they prepare for battle, knowing that the galaxy was now watching them, testing their strength? The weapon that had once been a symbol of humanity's desperation was now a powerful deterrent, but would it be enough to keep them safe? Suspense. As Earth's leaders debated, the unknown ship made a move. Slowly, it began to descend toward Earth's surface, its presence casting a long shadow over the planet. The world held its breath. Would the ship land peacefully, or would it bring destruction in its wake? The people of Earth, still recovering from the Zorathian invasion, gathered in front of their screens, eyes glued to the unfolding events. The ship hovered just above the ground, and for a moment, all was still. Then, with a sudden burst of energy, the ship activated a bright, pulsating beam of light. The world feared the worst. But as the light faded, a message appeared on every screen, in every language. Humanity, you have proven yourselves worthy. Prepare to join the galactic community. The world collectively exhaled. The message was clear. This was not an invasion. It was an invitation. Suspense. Humanity, once seen as nothing more than apes by the galaxy, had earned their place among the stars. The galaxy, which had once dismissed them, now recognized them as a force to be reckoned with. But with this new recognition came new questions. What challenges would Earth face in this new, larger galactic stage? What dangers would lurk in the farthest reaches of the universe? And most importantly, would humanity be able to maintain their newfound power, or would they once again become vulnerable to those who sought to dominate? As the dust settled and the future unfolded, one thing was certain. Humanity had not only survived, but had emerged as a force that would shape the future of the galaxy. They were no longer just apes to be mocked. They were the new masters of their fate. And the universe would never forget the day that humanity struck back.